Good evening, and welcome to Creative Current on lARTstream. This is the show where we talk to some of the most fascinating people in the arts in Los Angeles. And before I introduce tonight's guest, I just want to remind you that if you sign up for our newsletter, which you can figure out how to do on the website, we'll send you updates on future programming, and there's opportunities there for really incredible discounts on many of the wonderful restaurants and downtown venues that sponsor our show. Tonight, our guest is none other than Llyn Foulkes, I think one of the finest artists in the country, certainly a preeminent artist here in Los Angeles, who has had a remarkable career that spanned more than 5 decades. Your reputation is international, but really it started out of a little gallery in Los Angeles in the late 50s, early 60s, the Ferris Gallery. And I think you had your first show there in 1959?
I was in a group show.
In a group show.
Yeah, with Kenny Price and I can't remember the other people.
And then in 1963, I think it was, you burst on the scene with Cow.
Yes, yes.
And that was a show at the Ferris Gallery. That was actually a year before.
Actually, they were all cows and landscapes.
All cows in the beginning.
When you walked in, here was this cow. That was the first thing that you saw, right? And even the announcement had cow on it. And like,
and the cow is kind of an iconic image. Although I have to say, before we go back into Ferris Gallery, one of my favorite pieces is the one that's now in the permanent collection at the Museum of Contemporary Art. That was down at the Geffen, and that was the piece.
The pop piece.
Yes, the one that was in its own special little room. Now this piece is obviously a little bit of a self-portrait, and it's part of a series of paintings that you've done that really speak to modern anxiety, in a sense. Is that right?
Well, it was my anxiety. Yeah. No, yeah, right. But my main purpose for the painting was to create the space in the painting. Whatever, almost like you were just kind of, it's like somebody's writing a book, you know, oh, this happens, well, then this happens. But you know that you're going to some place and it's going to make some kind of a whole. And this is the way I work now for on these large dimensional pieces, you know, until they just unfold and become that. But my main emphasis is wanting to push the space back as far as I can go. So when you're looking, you say, oh my God, that's the deepest painting I ever saw.
It is. It's a very three-dimensional painting. Well, the surface itself is three-dimensional. I mean, you're using real material. The faces pop out. I mean,
but the thing is when you're back from it, you look at it, you don't think of that. See, so many paintings now, when they have things and objects on them, they're not dealing with the whole space, so they all kind of sit on the top, you know. And since I'm doing it almost like my idols, like a de Kooning and those people like that, just kind of push and pull space, then I started saying, you can do that with real space, as long as you're transferring the light to the inside of the painting.
Well, you're also the light. I mean, light comes through from the back of this painting too. I mean, this is designed to be in an environment that you walk into.
Yes, yes. That's the only problem with it. I don't want to do the one I'm working on now than trying to finish for this big thing. And it has lights in it, but not real lights. See, because the problem is that when the second time after the Helter Skelter show it was in, and they didn't tell me that the show was going to be on, and I heard about it. I said, what? I said, well, did you follow the instructions? And, oh, yes, we followed the instructions, yes. I didn't believe it. I went all the way down from Topanga, all the way downtown. I come in there, and they got the light 6 feet back from where it's supposed to be, and the light controls the piece with the shadows and all like this, you know. You could sure if it was a Robert Irwin light and space piece, they wouldn't have done that, you know.
Well, I mean, that is the problem with the piece is that whenever you see photographs of it, they're all different because some parts of it are lit differently than others. You have to see it in context the way it's supposed to be lit to really catch it.
That's right. That's right.
Well, let's go back a little bit in time. Your first show, I think, was
a little bit.
Well, I don't want to push the point too much.
Okay, right.
In 1959, you were in a group show at the Ferris Gallery.
Right.
And then 4 years later is when you had your first, I would say, your first big landmark show in your career, and that where the world was introduced to cows.
Well, if you could call that a landmark. To me, my landmark, it goes back further than that, which is the blackboard and the chair in the Pasadena Art Museum and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about 3 years later there, you know, so it's like, you know, all of a sudden I got into, and when I did the cows, I had done all these, I mean, I'm talking about, you got this kid just coming out of art school, man, and he's doing all these tar, black, and I'm going to tell you, I buys, you know. It was kind of like, you know, and you know, and it's all this stuff, and that show's been buried.
Well, let me before we actually get into that chronology.
All right.
We have a series of black and white photos that we want to call "What the hell is happening here?" So let's.
Okay.
Okay. Now that, can you see that?
Oh yeah.
That's
that's me on my machine.
That's the machine, which is the other thing that you become famous for.
Yeah, I started playing the drums, you know, when I was, you know, like just got into high school, right? So it's 10th grade or.
What's amazing to me is that your mother reading on the couch behind you while you're playing the drums?
It's probably my sister. There.
Oh, it might be your sister.
It's probably my sister. Anyway, so I started playing the drums in high school. My mother took me over to the band in high school, Mr. I forgot his name, and asked if I could just sit in and watch him play the drums to learn how to do it, like in the band.
Yeah.
So they let me do it. And then by the time I had, I was the best drummer in there. And it was a big high school. It was all, you know, I think we had 430 graduating class, you know. It was huge.
So music was really your first love?
It was my, well, no. At 5 years old, I still got pictures I have pictures that my mother saved of my copying things out of the comic book, and there was Mickey Mouse in there, you know. So I would copy that stuff like that. And then I started drawing cartoons and thought I wanted to be a cartoonist.
Right.
Right? And I still have those cartoons too. But, when I first heard Spike Jones, to me, that was cartoon music.
Yeah.
I never responded to music before. It was just, okay, here's bells and horns and ball and all this stuff like that, you know. And so I responded to that, you know, and that's kind of started me off.
Again, there you are with the Lone Ranger.
I was with the Lone Ranger. Now, that was before I could really play it that well.
Well,
the cowboy song. I could play cowboy songs so well now. Then I had to dress up in a costume, which everybody loved. They loved when you dressed up in a costume and then you took the hat off, and you know, I knew that. But it was overriding the whole idea of my really playing the music and getting into it and being able to feel everything in this, which I now do, and I realized back then, and other people say, well, why don't you put the costume back on? I don't feel like I need to put the costume back, you know. I said, because anybody can put a damn costume on. I see them all the time. Once you got a costume on, or you got the lights flickering going real fast, or you got quick shots of this and like that. Yeah, right. You know, I'm sorry, man.
Well, we're actually going to get to a piece of you playing on the machine, which I guess the machine itself has evolved over 30 years or so. Is that right? Is it that long?
Yeah. I had a band called the Rubber Band in the 70s.
All right.
And we were on the Tonight Show in 9 months after I'd started the band.
Oh my God.
But me, oh my God, Hollywood, here I come. I thought, and I couldn't really play it there. I could write the songs, I could arrange the music in the sense of telling people where to play and all this like this, you know, but I wasn't the musician that some of the other people there. I had some really good musicians, you know.